Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman happened in December of 2019, and what an incredible fight that was. I recently went back and rewatched that fight. I have some thoughts, and based on those thoughts and comments, I'll be predicting who's going to win the second fight, which is happening in 3 weeks in November. Let's get into it.
National record. Let's go! 15, the Nigerian Nightmare! Here we go.
Hi, Michael Kane here. Thanks for stopping by the channel. Really appreciate it. Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman won. What an incredible fight that was. Fireworks from start to finish. Easily one of the best fights I've ever seen in mixed martial arts and across all of combat sports put together. What an incredible fight. Both of these guys so incredibly tough. The amount of toughness that they demonstrated in this fight was absolutely incredible. Chins made out of steel. Both of these fighters, even though they came from wrestling backgrounds, they didn't attempt a single takedown. They had very heated exchanges of conversation going into this fight. They didn't even bother touching gloves. None of them tried a takedown. They just wanted to stand up and wail at each other and throw punches and strikes at each other. This was more of a Muay Thai fight. Colby Covington was outstanding right out of the gate. I thought he was the busier fighter going into round one. He threw more strikes. He did a lot more damage on Kamaru Usman. I saw Kamaru was taken back a little bit by the pace and the intensity of Colby Covington. I gave the first round to Colby. Going into the second round, Colby Covington comes out once again, guns blazing, throwing everything he's got at Kamaru Usman, expending a lot of energy. But halfway through the round, as both of these fighters have been exchanging shots, Colby Covington does have the edge at this point, in my opinion. Both of these fighters have been exchanging shots up until this point, which is 1.5 rounds. Colby Covington starts to show a lot of damage on his face. He looks a little bit bruised and battered, and that's okay because people's bodies react to strikes absorbed in different ways, so that's fine. I thought round two was still with Colby. Colby landed more shots. I think even though they were both exchanging strikes, this was an amazing fight so far. Even though they're both exchanging shots, I think Colby was the busier fighter. He landed more strikes on Kamaru. Going into the third round, this round I gave to Kamaru. This is the round where Colby broke his jaw. He had his mouth open, and the commentary team made a note of that as well. He had his mouth open when he took a really hard right straight cross from Kamaru, and Colby broke his jaw. He would fight the rest of the fight, which is 2.5 rounds, with a broken jaw and swelling and bleeding from the right side of his face. Just incredible toughness and perseverance for Colby to be continuing on with that fight the way he did. But I thought the third round I gave the edge a little bit to Kamaru. I think Kamaru edged Colby a little bit in the third round. So third round I scored for Kamaru. Going into the fourth round, I think somehow Colby Covington dug deep from somewhere. He found all this energy and strength, and he started matching Kamaru Usman shot for shot with a broken jaw, bleeding from the right side of his face, swelling on his face. Somehow he found the strength and the toughness to match Kamaru shot for shot, strike for strike in round four. The fourth round, I scored it as a draw. So none of the fighters I thought had the edge over the other. Both fighters did a phenomenal job in the fourth round. Fourth round was a draw. Fifth round, Colby Covington goes down twice, and the second time when he goes down, Kamaru would go in for the knockout, and Colby, the fight would be stopped by the ref as a knockout situation. But the fifth round, I scored it for Kamaru. I think Kamaru pulled away in the number of strikes. You could see it in the stats. He pulled away in the number of strikes and the number of significant strikes. So fifth round, I gave it to Kamaru. Nevertheless, Kamaru took the judges and their scorecards out of the equation by scoring that knockout, so the scorecards really didn't matter. Now the eye poke. Kamaru, he claimed that he got an eye poke. I looked at the replays. I think that he did get an eye poke, but he also claimed that he got a low blow shot from Colby. I went back and looked at all the replays. I didn't see a low blow shot. What I think happened is Colby Covington at one point, his left foot made contact with Kamaru Usman's lower body just underneath the belt line, but I didn't see any direct contact with Kamaru's private parts. I think Kamaru simply exploited Colby making contact with his lower body below the belt, but away from the private parts. He simply exploited that to get a break right in the middle of the fight. You could see it when the crowd watched the replay on the Jumbotron. They groaned and they had a reaction to it as well. I think Kamaru clearly faked that low blow. Number two, I think looking at both of these fighters' physiques, they were both in great shape. Colby Covington looked natty. He looked natural. Kamaru Usman did not. He was ripped and shredded and beefy, and he looked like an aesthetic bodybuilder model. And anytime a guy looks like that, while he has to learn fighting and go through a fighting training camp, and he's learning the technicals and he's practicing striking and takedowns and submissions and grappling and wrestling, if he has time to get into that sort of shape where professional aesthetic bodybuilders and models have to work on it full time, a little bit of alarm bells goes off in my mind, and I start to think, is this guy natty? Is this guy natural? Kamaru Usman, to me, did not look natural. We know USADA's testing program has a lot of room for errors and manipulation, even though they've caught people in the past like John Jones, but there is still a lot of room for USADA to get it wrong and for USADA to be manipulated. I think Kamaru Usman did not look natty. That's just my personal opinion. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. If you look at the stats, on paper, Kamaru Usman just outclassed Colby Covington if you're just looking at the strike stats. But that doesn't really tell the story, because Colby Covington, up until the point where he broke his jaw, was dominating Kamaru Usman, in my opinion. Colby Covington was the clear winner of the fight until he broke his jaw. And then he still kept going through the rest of round 3, even though I think Kamaru edged Colby a little bit in round 3, especially because of the damage he did on Colby. But somehow Colby's found the strength to completely match Kamaru's pace and intensity in round 4. I scored the 4th round as a draw, which was unbelievable considering that one of the fighters, Colby, was fighting with a broken jaw, bleeding profusely, swelling on the right side of his face. It was just unbelievable to see, just an incredible display of grit and determination. So if you look at it, don't look at the fight on paper, actually go watch it, go watch the fight, and you'll see that Colby was clearly dominating Kamaru up until he broke his jaw. Now, here's the prediction for the second fight. I think Colby wins the second fight because lightning doesn't strike twice in one place. There's a very low probability Colby breaks his jaw again in the second fight. It doesn't happen very often. It's very rare for fighters to do that. Even the commentary team said all he needed to do was keep his jaw clenched, let the mouth guard absorb the shock, and then he doesn't break the jaw. I doubt he'll break his jaw again in the second fight, and if he comes out with the same level of pace and intensity, Kamaru needs to watch out because he'll be in trouble. And then there will be an announcement, and the new welterweight champion, Colby Covington. So that's my prediction. I think in the second fight, Colby Covington will beat Kamaru Usman, and that's based on the fact that Colby was clearly dominating Kamaru in the first fight up until he broke his jaw. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.